Welcome to Let Me Finish podcast. I am your host, Figure 8, and with me today,
Tag Smith,
one of the co-founders of the Antelope Fishermen. How are you doing today, Tag?
doing all right.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
That's not the point of this. This isn't how you feel.
Yeah, we're talking about how I felt in the past, not really right now.
Yeah, well, we have a different podcast coming out called Fig and Tag. Want to know how you feel? So this is a precursor to that.
Spoiler alert, every episode we don't care.
Yeah. Neither of us feel good, and we don't care if you do. So I met you in 2016, correct? Is that correct?
It's 16 or 17. I don't know
I met
but
Ned in February of 2016. I've been going back on Facebook. I scrolled back through my entire timeline of 2016, 17, and
Gotcha.
18. Hell yeah, I did.
that sounds.
So I had
riveting.
made some notes, but I had just moved here from Michigan, and I made most of my social media as like a 17, 18-year-old. I didn't use it often. So there's not a lot of traces of the early times there.
You're having to really look back and find nothing.
But what I learned from this is everything happened much quicker than it felt like. That first couple years, a lot of stuff happened that made me think it was like 4 years of time, and it was not. Like I was married and divorced by 2018, and I met Ned in 2016. I felt like we all lived together for 72 years.
Yeah.
Before I got divorced.
No, it was.
No, you didn't move until after, I don't think, which
Yeah.
is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine I met you like a year after I knew Ned. I just don't feel like we were on that type
See, that's where I almost am like it might have been 17 because I feel like you knew them for a pretty long time before I met you.
I feel like Ned and Gabby were at their best early on when I knew him, and that would have been when you would have been coming around the most because you were coming around a lot. I knew you and Andrew for a long time.
Yeah, but I met you during the summer,
fish
right?
started.
That's when I was hanging out with.
Yeah, and I met them in February, so it probably was that summer.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right then.
Yeah, I met Gareth in October and Matt in January, and then I met everybody else in February.
In a terrible order.
I'll never say Matt's name again on the
Thank you.
podcast.
Appreciate
He
it.
hasn't come up yet.
No, it's shocking.
But I looked up the first. Do you know did I tell you yet the first appearance of the Antelope Fishermen on the internet?
Yeah, I think you sent me the.
No. That was the 2019 roster. We're not there yet. That's for later. That's horrifying. No,
We'll get there.
the first time our name appears on the
okay,
internet, because that has Jimbo on it. That flyer
Yeah,
that
you're
you're
right.
referring to. The first time our name appears, there is. I'll tell you this. There is no like, hey, we founded the Antelope Fishermen.
Sure,
That's not
we
it.
didn't mark it with like a
No.
specific post for social media.
No, nothing.
Which is
you'd think we would have at least been like, hey, we got a group to someone. We didn't. It's a secret group.
yeah, maybe not. It also seems like the sort of thing where like I don't know, it feels a little weird making that formal announcement
Sure.
into at the time at least the ether.
But can you guess what the first thing was?
No, I can't. I don't.
Me saying, hey, my first mixtape called Strange Places is coming out.
Okay.
Executively produced by the Antelope Fishermen.
Yeah.
Entirely mixed and mastered by Ellis. Just Ellis.
Yeah.
He wasn't Ellis in
Pre
the 810 at the time.
I mean, not really, but pre.
But that's the first thing
Official
we did
titling.
together. And I dug through the archives. I found it when I was getting ready to do it. It's not good. It's bad. Like, all of it's bad, but it's particularly bad. Like, it was, it's bad. I read the poem on the cover during, like, the second or third episode of this, though. Just because I was like, this is bad and it's better than everything we made musically on this. It's pretty terrible. And then I think the next chapter, like, do you remember when you joined? I specifically remember the night, right?
Yeah.
Is that when we worked at FedEx together? Because I feel like we were dabbing in your car or something, and you were like, can I make beats?
Yeah. I don't remember exactly where we were, but I definitely remember at least the start of like, I want to try that. It looks like a lot of fun. It's more reason to hang out with you guys and maybe have a little more drive than getting high in my car.
Sure. We can get high in a garage.
Yeah, and make something instead of just being like, look at all the weed I just burned up. Wow.
look at all this weed I burned up while we made this terrible song.
Yeah.
It was so much better.
There was something to look at after.
Yeah.
Other than roaches.
What I found to be interesting was I always thought it was like me, you, Chris, Gareth, Ned, and that was kind of it, with Ellis and Muffin on the outskirts until the end of that, what we call the first chapter, I think, generally.
Right.
But there was like 6 or 7 random people. We were a revolving fucking door for a second at the beginning. There was Frostbite and Jay Casa and Energetic and...
Yeah, and all those were pretty come and go, yeah.
Yeah, that they don't come up much in the story, but they are, I mean, fuck, they've come up for sure. But what I found interesting was that core group, right when we got traction, it kind of just became me, you, and Ned.
Yeah.
Andrew left. The Troutdale house collapsed. Right after Fig and Swig happened, before Troutdale house collapsed. But once things started picking up like actual speed, it kind of just became the fish was me, you, and Ned and Ellis then. And Muffin.
Yeah, and Muffin. I was about to say, but yeah, it was. You're right. It was a lot.
We went from this group of 10 people where only 4 or 5 of us saw each other a lot to 2 people that just moved here and 2 people that started it, and that's it.
Right. Yeah. No, it was absolutely a revolving door. There was definitely some in and outs.
Do you remember the Fig and Swig on release party?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to just tell some of your perspective? I did a whole 15-minute episode about it, so just anything you can remember, I think, would be interesting.
I don't remember much about it, which
I
think speaks volumes too.
Yeah, I brought up your experience a little bit.
Oh, smoking something that felt like maybe a little bit more.
It felt like maybe a little bit more. There was some kids in the living room smoking for sure on something a little bit more.
Yeah, they were smoking meth in the living room.
Yeah, absolutely, they were.
Because there was like an odd shift in the crowd, even as everyone was like, "It smells like burning cat piss."
I just remember young Ned's dad walking in and being like, "Cool party." These kids smoking meth in the living room. Though.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, like, yeah. And
which in general, for the future, I'd prefer someone to start with the other one.
Yes.
I think the order should have been
smoking
swapped.
meth in here, but also this.
But
is
hey,
a
other
party.
than that, it's a cool party.
Yeah. The way he approached
although
it
I don't
gave
know
me
if
too
he
much
thought
faith.
it was a cool party specifically because people were smoking meth in the living room. I don't want to.
Actually. Yep.
It might have been ordered intentionally.
Yeah, it could have been
like that, but again.
Do you remember losing Swiggle?
Yeah, I think he ate
Shrooms.
some mushrooms.
Ended up lost in Fred Meyer.
Was it that or Winco?
Oh, let me correct myself. I think it was Winco. I actually do think you're correct. It was Winco.
Yeah, but he had to go.
Yeah,
like
he had
all
to
of a
go.
sudden he was.
Yeah, and then
too
we couldn't get
high
a hold
for
of
that.
him until he
was like, "Hey,
the thing is I don't remember how it ended. I left a few parts of the story out. They don't feel like.
Sure.
Let's hit this on the 15-minute podcast stuff, but I do remember that, and then I don't really remember how the party itself resolved. I just remember it kind of falling off of the rails.
Right, and then people hung out, listened to music for a while, and then left.
Yeah. It got a bit too crowded for a while.
Said we ran out of meth. Time to go. Just kidding. We kicked those people out.
And I don't know if you knew this.
Clarify.
I mean, you might have now, but we learned a couple years ago that the people freestyling in the living room were Makes Waves and Tyree.
I don't know if I did know that.
The person that Ellis was smoking gravity bongs with on the back porch was Tyree.
Wild. Tyree have weird moments. Like I have those moments with Tyree more than once where
he went to your high school.
Yeah, we rediscovered we went to high school.
Same time.
And he had like a flashback remembering me in high school and be like, "Oh, that was you." I remember seeing that guy. That guy was you.
Yeah, every comic book story has one that strings all the universes together. Other than me, it for sure is Tyree, because I wasn't out here back then, and he still somehow pops up in other people's stories. That guy just fucking knows everybody somehow. The other thing we talked about was that period where you were the fish manager and my manager.
I don't want to yell into this mic. I almost did there, though. Yeah, that was tough. That was me trying to take on a lot of responsibility and not understanding what that really entailed. But seeing other people trying to do it and it was tough there too.
I remember we were at maybe the Roseland, and Shrista was booking shows back then, and I was like, hey, Shrista book shows, and you were like, you want me to talk to her
And
for
she
you?
ignored the shit out of me.
And you walked up to her and walked back over and were like, yeah, she don't like us. Like, so nonchalant. You're like, I got this. Came back, nah, it's not a good fit. It's not
at
gonna
some
work.
point you can know pretty early on in a conversation if there's going to actually be a conversation. And
There wasn't. She's come around now. Shout out to
yeah.
Big fan of us.
Absolutely.
Big fan of hers. What else have we talked about with you? I mean, the early days, what parts do you remember? Because I got to be honest, that was when I was doing drugs pretty secretly through a lot of these times, which is why some of the music remained horrible during these times. But, like, we did talk about how the first night we met Swiggle, I called you and had to be like, hey, I'm coming home. Make the room look like a studio and don't call me Michael. And then we got there and you, like, had the mic on top of a stack of books and you were like, studio.
Yeah.
Fuck do you want me to do?
Yeah, no. We're like, oh, okay, I'll get to it.
Do you want me to plaster styrofoam on the walls in the 20 minutes? No.
No, in that shitty 10 by 10 room.
Yeah, and we still have the laptop we recorded Fig and Swig on.
Oh, yeah, it's at Old Dell, isn't it?
Yep. It was just in the brand new 5 to a 10 music video.
I think I saw it in that,
yep.
and I went, it's that Dell.
Yeah, I refused to get rid of that. That was,
yeah.
That's the earliest relic I think we have.
Which is wild. I almost feel bad about clearing shit off of it now.
Everything's gone?
I think so. I think
Probably.
I reset it when I gave it to you. Because I was like, you can do something with this as a laptop.
I have the map book that Ellis has had since pre-Michigan.
Yeah.
Since before he moved back here.
It's still functional?
Yeah, Janessa uses it for work. There was one time me and Coda were working on an old music video just trying to get it out of the backlog, and the audio was so fucked up on the song, so we went in the MacBook and it still had the stems, and he fixed it and shit.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's it's incredible how when you don't have anything, how preciously you treat the few things you have. We still have the A2020 microphone that we recorded Pussy on My Lips on in Michigan at Ellis's room. We've used it to record things recently, actually, now that we do extracurriculars.
Sure.
But in this first year, again, I said I'm up to Minnesota now, which I think is, I had been doing 10, 20 shows with Swiggle. Like, things were starting to really happen by that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I realized that there never was an effort to make a Fish project at this point. Like, this was something I didn't realize until I was starting to go through the history of when did we start the album.
Yeah. No, and I think a lot of that time was just spent... I mean, you're definitely right. And it seems like 2020 hindsight, how did we not think to, like, well, we should maybe put an effort into having something a little more solely collaborative with Fish.
Do you know the first time another Fish other than me vocally appeared?
What? No.
Bloody Knees. It was you.
Oh.
We had never at any point, because Andrew rapped.
I would have thought Ellis would have beat me on that.
On a song. He wasn't a Fish in that early times.
Yeah.
He was mixing for us. That was the first time two Fish.
That's right. He did mix
song.
that song even, didn't he? But he wasn't a Fish at that point.
There's also I'm trying to pinpoint what the first group song is, right? Our rule is generally 3 or more.
Mm-hmm.
Business was Me, Swiggle, and Lie. So that's a song of 3 Fish, but none of us were Fish when that was made. And then you could make the argument of Olaf was Me, Lie, and Timmy, and that came right after that. And then you could argue Bloody Knees, which was before both of those.
Right.
But, again, not everybody was a Fish at that time. I still haven't gotten to the point where I've found what the first one we made is.
It's going to be a treasure when you find it, though.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's how strange of the type of time we were moving early on. It just felt like we got on a treadmill and we're like, what if we just sprint?
Right. What if we
just start pressing buttons and sprint?
Yeah.
Like we didn't sit down or have a decent mental plan.
Did you know the elevation on this thing changes?
We're getting to the end of this here, so we're for sure going to split this into 2 parts, and I'm sure we'll have you back throughout the season. But just hit me with a quick early memory. You got a couple seconds. First one that comes to mind. Just smack one out.
I remember shooting the video for, I can't remember the song, but we did it in the yard.
That quick stop?
Yeah, that
when
quick
I
stop,
painted
that's
on
the
the thing, I brought that up. I didn't want to talk about it again. God damn it, Tag. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next time. Before you interrupt me, let me finish.